Well, the building is quite classical and it's in a very established neighborhood. So when it came to the interiors, we wanted traditional architecture, but in a more updated, sort of youthful, today approach. We wanted the color palette to be neutral and light, and that again contrasts with what is expected in a traditional space. I think it's a nice fresh approach to have all the architectural detail in a more contemporary palette of the creams and the beiges and the grays. And I think it's got a long life to it. So it is also a classic palette, but a modern classic palette. So in this dining room, this is really about the mixing of the modern and traditional. So for instance, a light fixture like this is quite contemporary. It's the molten glass and the brass. And then we have the traditional paneling, but we use that silk grass cloth. And that's again part of that layering. It's all in the same color. It's almost the color of the floor. We've got contemporary furniture for the buffet and the table and chairs. And then our artwork, again, is a reference to classical architecture, which is part of the whole theme of the building. So you see that really wonderful mix of modern and contemporary, which most people think you can't do. But when the color palette is, very soft, and there's not a big contrast between the carpet and the walls and the furniture upholstery, I think it really works well together. So in the living room, we've gone quite contemporary with the furniture, but there's still an elegance to it. We've got the classical paneling, the modern furniture, the glass and the metals that mix, and the interesting idea of the art. So we've got this column between the windows where we've mixed up all these different sketches and photography and things like that. So it's almost an ode to that sort of English house where it has all the pictures on the wall, that gallery wall, done in a modern way. I think, again, this room really reflects the great use of classical architecture and modern furniture. As with all the architecture and the panel moldings and the panel doors, we chose the kitchen to be part of the architecture. So we used a classic framed looking kitchen and the recessed panel with that little detail around the panels. And then the marble countertops, which is a big trend today. They need a little more care, but there's a beautiful look to them, and we chose this beautiful sort of gray taupe marble, which again brings in all the colors of the floor and the furniture and things like that. And then instead of the brass, we used the brushed nickel hardware and contemporary light fixtures above. And I think, again, that shows a little bit of a contemporary twist to a traditional kitchen. Well, I love white for bathrooms. And this is one example of this beautiful dolomite white, which has very little veining. So we've used it in slab and tile. The vanity is also white, but to shake it up a little bit, we have the traditional door, but we paired it with a nickel base. And in bathrooms, I always love art. And oversized mirrors. We framed the mirror in the same material as the vanity and did slight beveling, again, a traditional detail, and paired it with the modern sconces. And the sconces are almost this 1930s deco sconce, which I think is fantastic. It sort of defines where we've come to in interior design, that you don't want a space that's just completely modern or completely traditional, that there's a beauty to an eclectic space. You want that tension between different points of view, and I think that's what makes a successful interior.